Drake has over 20 shell companies, and this is raising some concerns, specifically one in mind that has a name by the name of silence policy. Okay, now to be frank with you, I understand him on the positioning of creating all of these companies. Okay, now I don't want you to fret about it. I don't want you to dismiss it, because as an artist, someday, more than likely, you will probably be sitting in his shoes just like him, or standing in his shoes just like him. So let me break this down. My name is Casey Graham, and this is the Music Money Makeover Show. Side note, everybody, even though my last name is Graham, I just want to say that I am not related to those Grahams by any means or forms of association. Anyway, let's hop into what shell companies are, and then we're going to break down his 23 shell companies that they say on the internet he has. Shell corporations are called such because they don't usually have active business operations or significant assets, even if those who own them do. Okay, now while they're often perceived as being used to facilitate illegitimate dealings due to the ability to blur owners, business expenditures, many of these corporations are legally used. Now, legitimate reasons for using shell companies include, but are not limited to, startup businesses using the company as a vehicle to raise funds or to go public, and general confidentiality. Now, such corporations are used by everything from large conglomerates to private individuals. And this is true. This is why I say you shouldn't dismiss this as, oh, something weird is going on, because as you get bigger, there will be certain protections that you need in order to protect yourself and the assets that you created, because everybody wants to get a piece the bigger you get. Now, let's break down his companies real quick. Take a look at this image real quick, and you'll notice that there are 23 entities tied to his name. Now, I'm going to break down the LLCs, and then I'm going to break down the corporations. So check it out. He's got, of the 23, 14 of them are LLCs. That's Dream Crew Management LLC, D Crew Management LLC, Dream Crew Operations LLC, ADG Pages LLC, Entrada, I believe that is, Travel Services LLC, OMERTA Creative Agency LLC, Drake Related LLC, Away From Home Solutions LLC, More Life Investments LLC, Graham ADG Investments LLC, ADG Vanguard IP LLC, ADG Merchandising US LLC, ADG Holdings LLC, and the one in question is Silence Policy LLC. Now, here's the thing about the LLCs. LLCs are normally meant for businesses that don't necessarily need to issue stock to investors. However, investors can invest in LLCs without any problems. There's a difference in taxation here, and there's a difference in the way investors invest in these things. But if you look at those LLC names, you'll notice that they have a bit of an active type of presence. Like, it's a service being involved. There's an operations function that's happening within these LLCs. And that's pretty much what they are. Some of these have already expired, and some of these will only set in place to have purposes for a set time period, which I'm going to explain in a minute. Now, let's take a look at the incorporated companies. We have NOCTA Freehold Incorporated, Dream Crew Holding Company Incorporated, ADG Songs Incorporated, ADG Merchandise Incorporated, ADG Entertainment Incorporated, ADGBR Incorporated, ADG Sound Incorporated, ADG IP Incorporated, and Dream Crew Entertainment Incorporated. Based on the names of these companies, you can tell that these are more geared towards holdings. These companies more than likely have issued stock to investors in order for them to receive money from the money that they invested or bought the shares for based on the valuation of those companies. So Drake has so much catalog that he could break it apart. He has so many pieces of intellectual property when it comes to merchandise. He can break that apart, set a value on it, and issue stock based on the value of the company so that he can receive money against things that he's already created. Very simple process. I encourage it for all creators who are out there. Now, let's take a look at the next point here. Having an LLC does not automatically make it a shell company. And the reason why I have to explain this is because people seem to think that LLCs are the same thing as shell companies, and they're not. If I was going to do that, I would more than likely use a corporation to do this. So as you can see, he has more LLCs and incorporated companies. Now, These are from quotes from the Newsweek article and from Reddit and around, but I agree with these, so I'm reading them off as such. The vast majority of celebrities have LLCs. Some may have 1 to 10, some may have hundreds. They explain, these are the people in the Reddit forum about this post. There are legal tax confidentiality and privacy benefits to having these. Having an LLC as a celebrity is like having a seatbelt in your car. It doesn't necessarily mean anything nefarious is going on. Now, in addition to having an LLC, it does not automatically make it a shell company. Being that it was incorporated and terminated within 2 years more than likely means it was established for a particular purpose and was no longer needed. Establishing an LLC in the US isn't the greatest idea if you're trying to be private because it's public record and easily accessible by normal folks. Now, I don't know who made that quote on Reddit or Twitter, but obviously they probably don't have much going on. They might have been looking up and doing some research to make a point. That is not the case. You can remove a lot of stuff from the public record, sure, okay? But if you do things wrong, then of course you can be found in the public record for sure, all right? So that is valid to a certain extent, but if you want to hide yourself, you certainly can. All right, I've been saying this for years. I've been talking about this setup for years, and I want to bring in a recent clip from an interview I did with Brandman Sean to show you that this does happen and it's normal.
So let's say you want to sit down with a label, you know, after you got things going, and they're looking at everything you have done, and they're like, well, we're gonna put some numbers together for what we think you should have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Versus you coming to the table, this is what we did. And there's a lot of experience that comes behind that, because I know many artists will go to the label, and the one thing's like a little sliver of time that you'll take with your attorney or maybe your team, and you'll begin to set up everything that I talk about, like that. And then you'll do the deal. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's a explanation of what I was talking about.
You all may also know that I've stated this formula that I'm going to show you in a second from my original video talking about LLCs, and that's how to build an LLC. I got to look at it. How to build an LLC for music artists and record labels. I forgot the title. I got so many of those videos. I got like over 16 LLC videos. But let me pop it on the screen for you real quick. This has evolved over the years, but this is really what it looks like. You have a parent company that has other LLCs attached to it, and then the investor invests in the parent company, and that money goes to fund all of the other companies within that parent company. That's one scenario. Or the investors just could invest in the LLCs individually. It's however you choose to do it. You can see I have my holding company as an LLC, but that could be an incorporated company if the intellectual property is, let's say, catalog records now, or old merchandise printings that will eventually turn a profit later, or something that you will spike back up later in the near future or retroactive future. Okay, but this is how it looks for many artists. This is not uncommon, and this happens every day. Also, for many artists, they exercise another LLC called a loan out deal, which would require them to have multiple LLCs, even if the LLC, in his case, in Drake's case, is only operable for 2 years. You're using that as a loan out. And this can be seen in my most recent video over here, LLCs Explained, Mastering LLCs for Ultimate Music Industry Domination, okay? So let me do a little bit of a comparison here for you. LLCs versus corporations. When it comes to ownership and structure, LLCs have members and incorporated companies have shareholders that elect board members. When it comes to formation and documentation, LLCs have articles of organization plus an operating agreement, whereas an incorporated company has articles of incorporation, bylaws, and board meetings. Now, that's not to say that LLCs cannot have meeting minutes. By some, it's recommended depending on what type of operation you have and how much risk that LLC may have. You want to keep it active. By others, not so much. So it just depends on what you have going on. Now, check it out. When it comes to taxation, and this is really important, LLCs have pass-through taxation, while the incorporation has double taxation, but it can be treated as an S-elected corporation when it comes to tax status. So just a brief explanation. The double taxation is when the corporation gets taxed its corporate tax, and then the money is passed out to the shareholder, and that shareholder then has to report that income as personal income on their personal tax return. When that gets reported on their personal tax return, it is then taxed again. Okay, some might say, I don't want to do that, especially if you are a single person owned corporation. Then you would want to go for the S-selected position. But if you're an LLC, that money, as you all know from years of watching the show, that money is passed out of the LLC, right, and is taxed in that LLC, but it's also reported on your tax return, so it's only one pass through. So it just drops on your 1040, even though it's reported, the losses and all that stuff is reported on your Schedule C. Okay, and then after a certain point, you'll want to move into a S-selected S corporation situation where you get paid a paycheck, and then the company gets taxed like a corporation. All right, so you still can avoid the double taxation with the S election, whether you're an LLC or a corporate company. Check this out. When it comes to legal protections, LLCs and corporations both have liability protections, okay? Most of them, for the most part, are going to be pretty straightforward. It's just that corporations have a little bit more protection when it comes to that charging protection, which is why a lot of people go to Nevada and Wyoming when they want charging protection orders against the LLC. All right, when it comes to compliance and formalities, LLCs are not required to hold annual board meetings, as I said, but corporations are required to hold those annual meetings. Now, when it comes to fundraising and growth potential, the LLC they can raise personal funds, they can have the member contributions, or they can take on private loans. But the difference is they have to make sure that they pay out the people who made the investment. The person does not get a percentage of ownership of the LLC, though you can change it to make it happen that way. If there's an investor that invested in the LLC, you're just going to make sure you pay them back. Now, on the flip side, with the corporate company, they can sell stock in the company, which is a percentage of the company, for the amount they want the investor to invest in. So if they sell 10% of the company to a specific investor for $100,000, that business is now valuated at $1 million. You see what I'm saying? It's a little bit different with the corporate status. All right, now, last part. An LLC can have a limited lifespan, as I was saying earlier, but depending on state laws and the company's operating agreement, it could be for however long as you want it to operate. Corporations typically have a perpetual existence, continuing to operate irrespective of changes in ownership or management unless dissolved. So they're kind of like neck and neck. You get what I'm saying? They're neck and neck with it. But choosing between an LLC and incorporation depends largely on the specific needs of the business, including its size, the number of owners, the need for investment, and the desire to avoid double taxation. Now, let's go back to the anonymity question. Would I put my name on it? Yes and no. So it depends on what the entity is doing and how much risk it's taking on the charging protection order laws of the state. But at the same time, if I don't have to put my name on it, I'm not. And I'm going to take all the measures that I need to make to remove my name as far from the record as possible. When is the right time to diversify my companies? You start to feel it around 120K in revenue, and it will feel like eyes are watching you and you'll want to protect yourself. I can tell you this from firsthand experience. It's like you feel like everybody's coming at you, right? Because now the general population begins to fall off. And as you climb the ladder, it's like, hey, I'm starting to feel like it's a lot less people up here and it's a lot more people down there. And it's starting to feel a little bit shaky up here, right? And then you're going to want to start to diversify, okay? Now, how would I have time to manage these? Well, you wouldn't. Your legal staff of accountants, tax, corporate, and entertainment attorneys and lawyers would do this for you. Because as you get so many, you don't have the time to pay attention to what's really going on. So you're putting your trust in them. And a lot of people would say at the bottom, I wouldn't do that, I'd do everything myself. But time is of the essence and you don't have a lot of time. So you would entrust these people with your affairs and you would hope that they really get these things done for you. So now the question is, are you going to be the one to build it? Because if you're an artist, a producer, singer, songwriter, or a new music business exec that wants to build this LLC and expand your horizons with this type of structure right here, then you got to get it started with one. So in order to get that done and screw all the misinformation out there so you don't screw yourselves, I built a nice little teeny tiny package called a 60-day record label course to help you build that LLC and make it a strong foundation for you to survive and thrive off of and make the millions of dollars you want to make. In addition to that, I show you how to play the game via contract so you're not getting lost in the sauce out here And at the end of that, you'll be able to collect your international and domestic record and publishing royalties without the middleman taking 15% of your cash, because we don't want that. We need to grow as fast as we can, and we need to keep as much money in our pockets as we can. Doesn't happen without work, but all the things in the bottom right-hand corner is included with that course. Grab the free stuff below if this is your first time watching the channel. 10 ways to increase your record label's profits. A free split sheet is included with the download of that, okay? Now, check this out, because here's going to be the upside of what we're doing here today. Building a company allows you to practice and understand asset protection as well as business management. Even if your music career is big or small, you can capitalize off your art to the fullest extent that you possibly can. Never building a company leads to huge amounts of financial risk that may ruin the income that you depend on as a musician. And this is true. I don't want that to be ruined for you, okay? I mean, there's so much risk involved as you begin to build. There's so many people that are trying to get to you and want things from you that we gotta do what we gotta do to protect as entertainers, content creators, and all these people in the space. So here's the thing. If you were a little bit confused about how that structure was working, I've got 16 more LLC videos to kind of flush some of this stuff out. Go back and rewatch this so you can ultimately become that ultimate music creator, mogul, $1 million new unsigned artist that everybody wants to get to for your model of doing business in the music world. Now, music money makers, if you make music, you should always make money. Log on to musicmoneymakeover.com, jump into the 60-day record label course beneath this video, smash the like button beneath this video, grab the free stuff below, book a call on musicmoneymakeover.com, and I'll see you next time. Peace.